Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Apparently, the health care bill, the Republicans, including my congressman, I'm happy to report, Alan Nunley, going to vote to defund Obamacare tomorrow. That'll go over to the Senate, apparently, on Monday. And here's what I want you to understand. If this bill winds up coming back, if it winds up being modified, the only way that Harry Reid can modify this defund Obamacare bill is if he gets 60 votes to do it. He cannot do it just with the Democrats that are in the Senate. He's got a majority. It's 55-45 right now, or 54-46, something like that. Anyway, he's got more than a majority of Democrats there, but he's going to have to get to 60 in order to change the language in this continuing resolution that the Republicans are going to send over, the House is going to send over. That means the only way he can do that, the only way he can strip this language, out of this bill and send it back to the House in a form that funds Obamacare is if he gets Republican help. That's what you got to understand going into Monday. The only way he can do it, the only way he can add funding for Obamacare back into this bill, from my understanding, this has to do with Senate rules and procedure, but my understanding is the only way that Harry Reid can get funding for Obamacare back into this bill on Monday is with Republican help. If there are senators that will cave on this, go over to the dark side, and actually vote to fund Obamacare. So that's where the next battle is likely to be fought. Let's grab a call from Alita in Plano, Texas. Alita, welcome. The number to call if you want to join our conversation, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Alita, welcome. What's on your mind?
Oh, thank you. I was so glad to hear that the House is going to do this. It's an answer to prayer. It's as a result of all of the efforts of the American people as well as other things. But anyhow, I'm a little bit confused though. Are they saying that they're going to defund only until December, or through December, or for a year, or what? I'm a little confused about the.
Yeah, and I don't know if I've got. I would want to be careful because I could be wrong about this, but here's the way I understand it, Alita. This will defund Obamacare for an entire year.
Okay.
It will provide.
When I first heard about it, they were saying until December. And
well,
I thought, it's a good start, but we need to urge them when we call to maybe just defund it altogether.
Yeah. Yeah, and my understanding, Alita, is that this will defund Obamacare for a full year. It will fund the government, the rest of government will fund the rest of government through the middle of December. So what it would do is it provide funding for everything but Obamacare through December, but it would defund Obamacare completely for the whole next year. I think that's the way I understand it.
Well, that would be good, and then in the meantime, we can continue to stay on their backs about it, to say, okay, we've gotten a year's delay, and we want you to go further than that and just totally kill the bill.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that can be a part of the message that we send when we call our congressman, urge them to vote to defund Obamacare. Part of the message can be, look, we want this done permanently. We want a full year deal. The Tom Graves bill would have been 1 year of funding for the federal government and 1 year of defunding of Obamacare. This is 3 months of funding and a year's worth of defunding of Obamacare. That's the way I understand it. But what this means is this battle is going to have to be fought again in December, because there's going to be a budget battle. It's going to have to be fought again in December, and that's what we got to be prepared to gear up for. All right, Alita, thank you. And the number to call, again, 202-224-3121. That's the number for the Capitol Hill switchboard. You can get to your congressman's office, urge them to vote tomorrow to defund Obamacare. This is on the House of Representatives side. You have one representative. Call him, urge him today to vote to defund Obamacare tomorrow. Now, this debt ceiling business is going to come up in December. Let's have clip 3. This is Rick Perry. He was on Crossfire. It's a new CNN program. It was actually pretty good last night. I got a couple of sound bites of Rick Perry talking with Stephanie Cutter, who's the arch liberal. She helped to run President Obama's campaign in 2012 re-election campaign. She's real snarky and snide. And Rick Perry's on there defending what's going on in Texas. Got a couple of sound bites I want to play. But she asked him about the debt ceiling in this clip, and let's listen to their exchange. Stephanie Cutter, CNN Crossfire, talking to Governor Rick Perry of Texas.
Today, the Chamber of Commerce put out a letter asking House Republicans to stop playing games with the debt limit. You've previously told House Republicans not to raise the debt limit. Is that still your position?
It is. I think it's not in the country's interest to raise the debt limit. They need to address the spending issue. Mm-hmm. Americans realize that one of the great problems that we have in this country is this massive debt that's been created, multi-generations ahead of us.
So the business community versus Republican politics, that's where you're coming down.
Look, I'm coming down with the people of the United States.
So Rick Perry is saying, look, I'm against raising the debt ceiling at all, period. Now, ladies and gentlemen, realize this. The federal government is going to set an all-time world record this year for tax receipts. $2.7 trillion are going to come into the federal government. If you can't run a country on $2.7 trillion, you got no business being in politics. Quit and leave your chair to somebody who can run a country on $2.7 trillion. I mean, this is absolutely absurd, and Rick Perry says, I'm against it. We are saddling future generations with a huge, unsustainable level of debt. CBO is saying, look, we got till maybe 2038, and then this whole thing is going to implode. That's what the CBO is saying. That's as long as we can go and get away with what we're doing. We can kind of get away with it for now, but we can't get away with it after 2038. So that's not going to affect me, not going to affect my wife, but it's going to affect my kids. It's going to affect my grandkids. It's going to affect your kids and your grandkids. And Rick Perry's the one guy that's out there saying no, flat no. Now, I just mentioned this for 2016 because I think Rick Perry's the type of guy, if he's president in 2016 and they send him a bill that raises the debt ceiling, he would be liable to veto it. Said, I'm not going to do it. It's not going to happen on my watch. You want to raise the debt ceiling, you're going to have to do it over my veto, and he'd throw it right back to them. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the kind of leadership. I'm not saying Rick Perry's the guy. You know I like him. I like him a lot. But what I'm saying is that's what we need in the White House in 2016. We need a president that says, you send me an increase in the debt ceiling, you send me a bill that increases, I'm not going to sign it. I'm going to veto that puppy. I'm going to send it right back to you. If you're going to raise the debt ceiling on my watch, you're going to have to do it over my veto. And, you look at what's happened under President Obama. We're supposed to be in recovery. These are the facts under Obama's first term. Real median income is down by $2,627. So real median income, median is the number where half the people in the country make more than that, half the people make less. It's not the average, it's the median. And that real median income level went down by $2,600 under Obama's first term. The number of people in poverty went up by almost 7 million. So real median income is down. People in poverty is up. We have a record number of people, 46.5 million people that are now classified by the government as poor. That's up 16.7% under Obama. So real median income under President Obama has fallen by 5%. The number of people in poverty has skyrocketed by 17% under Barack Obama. There's a story out about how the number of women are back in the workforce. They recovered their lost jobs. Most of these jobs are waiting tables. They are low-end jobs. So, yeah, they're getting jobs, but they're low-quality jobs, they're low-paying jobs, and most of them are part-time jobs, so it's not what people want it to be. Well, let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Paul in Wilmington, North Carolina. Paul, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Brian.
Yes, sir.
If you remember a few years ago, the Mel Gibson movie, The Patriot, and it showed the way that they would wage warfare, and they would go on the battlefield, and they would have lines, and one side would fire, the British would fire, and then our guys would fire, and they would have to hold the line. I remember at the end of that, they were talking about how the militia would not hold the line, and you had to have your regular soldiers up there to hold the line. Well, now we have the opposite in our Congress. These guys are not willing to hold the line and take a few casualties to do the right thing to win the battle. This is a long-term battle. It goes far beyond just December. It goes far beyond. We got to be willing to hold the line until not only this thing just defunded, but until it's totally abolished. We need to rewrite a whole new healthcare law and address healthcare. This thing needs to be done away with, and this is going to be a long-term battle. They can't just worry about what's going to happen right now. We've got to find guys that are willing to hold the line, and the only ones that are willing to do that are those who are, well, I'd say the political militia, the Tea Party guys, the ones who are not concerned about their own political future, but what's right for this country.
Yeah.
And so, we got to have a long-term strategy more than just, yes, defund it now, yes, do whatever we can do, but let's look for the long haul and not worry about we're going to take some few casualties.
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. Listen, I appreciate that. I could not possibly agree with you any more than I do. And going back to that National Journal piece, and I want to follow up on what you just said, this National Journal piece, this is a quote. This is a left-wing journal. For the vast majority of Americans, premium prices will be higher in the individual exchange than what they are currently paying for employer-sponsored benefit, adding even more out-of-pocket expenses to consumers' monthly insurance bills is a swell in deductibles under the Affordable Care Act. So that's a left-wing journal. How your insurance premiums, insurance, healthcare costs going to go up. Here's a piece, Investors Business Daily. Premiums have climbed $3,000 since 2009. Despite President Obama's vow that they were going to go down $2,500, they have gone up by $3,000. And then getting back to what our last caller said, Karl Rove's got a piece in the Wall Street Journal today encouraging Republicans not to defund Obamacare because he says it's going to bounce back on us. We're going to be blamed for this. So again, it's exactly what the last caller said. What Karl Rove was worried about is perception. He's not worried about the country. He's worried about politics. You and I, we're concerned about this country. We're concerned about the greatest healthcare system in the world. We're concerned about our children. We're concerned about our grandchildren. What is Karl Rove concerned about? He's concerned about the public reaction to a shutdown. And like the last caller says, we've got to have people that have enough moxie that they're willing to take some shots in order to hold the line. And Karl Rove says, look, a shutdown now is going to be worse than the one in 1995. Well, what happened in 1995? We picked up 2 Senate seats. Yeah, we lost 3 House seats, but the Republicans kept control of the House. We got a balanced budget for 4 years, and we got welfare reform. If people were going to get welfare, they were going to have to work or be looking for work. All of that came out of that budget showdown in 1995, and I look at that and I say, how is that bad? How was the shutdown in 1995 bad for the conservative cause? So Karl Rove doesn't get it. Ruling class Republicans don't get it. That's where the fight's going to be between us as citizen class Republicans, citizen class conservatives, and ruling class Republicans. Back in 2.